What's going on, everybody? This is Brian Mazik, aka Unique Mazik, and we are back talking Bears and Saints recap. If you have not yet subscribed to the channel, if you have not yet liked the video, please make sure you do that. I'll probably drop that message a few more times today. So we're going to go 3 points. Bears actually obviously get the victory 26-14. You know what's crazy, right? As I talked about this, the win later on through Sunday night, the one thing I kept saying, and I didn't want to be greedy and I didn't want to be extra, right? Because Bears on a 4-game winning streak. Bears are 4-2. They flipped this whole thing from what they had. I don't know if people realize this. I said this a little bit yesterday, but if Arizona had been able to hold on against Green Bay and Tampa Bay beats Detroit tonight, which is not a crazy thought the way Tampa Bay has been playing, the Bears would be in first place right now. But as it stands, the best they can be is in second place, because if Tampa Bay beats Detroit, we will move ahead of Detroit, but we'll still be behind Green Bay, who was 4-1-1. But so because we're in a good situation, I don't want to be too down on a victory, but I couldn't help but describe the victory as a little bit unsatisfactory, if I have to say it, because basically, man, on offense, we were extremely sloppy. So it's encouraging on one hand, because what it makes me feel like is obviously the team still isn't playing their best football, but they're still winning. So that's a good thing. The arrow's still pointing up for the team overall. But the downside of that thought process is at some point in time, the sloppiness is going to catch up to the Bears again, and it's going to deal us a nasty loss one of these weeks. And I don't know. Hopefully we get it together and that doesn't happen. But it does feel like that is potentially inevitable, right? So let's go through our 3 points. Number one, my first point is the MVP for this particular game to me. And we saw Ben Johnson recognize him in the post-game speech that has become just absolutely addictive. If you're a Bears fan, good, better, best, never let it rest till your good gets better and your better gets best. Like, I mean, I'm in my house just doing regular work and I'm literally saying this to myself. It's kind of crazy, right? How viral and infectious it has become. But my MVP for the Bears for this week is Dennis Allen. I thought, and I gotta tell you, I did call this. So you go back and you look at some of the older videos I have, look at videos when I say things about Spencer Rattler and Dennis Allen might give him fits. I called this. I knew that the pressure, the way he brought pressure off the edges with safeties and corners, I knew that would give Spencer Rattler some issues, especially at this stage of his career. And I was right about that. But Dennis Allen's defense only gave up a total of 253 yards, 44 yards on the ground. And if you saw the way the Bears were giving up rushing yardage earlier in the season, you know how much of a turnaround this was, especially when you consider they also were pretty decent against the Commanders last week. But 4 turnovers, another 4 turnovers for the Bears at this point. Bears are now plus 11 on the season when it comes to the giveaways and takeaways. They had 4 sacks. Now, we would have liked it if those 4 sacks had to come from our 4 down linemen. That's not how they came. We'll take them how they come. Tremaine Edmonds had 1. Brisker had 1. Montez Sweat had 1. Kyler Gordon. So only 1 defensive lineman had a sack out of those sacks. And the one that Montez Sweat did have, he actually forced a fumble on. That was early in the game. We only ended up getting 3 points out of that, which we'll talk about that a little bit later. On third down, they limited the Saints to 3 for 10 on third down. That's excellent. Bad side of that, we were only 3 for 11. But like I said, we'll get to that later on. But like I predicted, Dennis Allen gave Rattler fits. He is getting and has been so creative when it comes to finding ways to get pressure off the edge. I mean, and finding ways to just get pressure, period, when you are dealing with a defensive front that cannot just simply rush the passer with 4 guys and get to the quarterback. So that is, to me, you can't necessarily get down on Dennis Allen for the fact that the edge rushers are not getting to the passer. It would be different if last season the Bears were getting a crazy pass rush, and then all of a sudden now they can't get to the passer. That wasn't the case last year. They wasn't getting a pass rusher last year either. That's the reason why they went out and they signed Dio, because they knew that they needed help there. It's the reason why they drafted guys like Irvon Dexter, Zach Pickens, because they wanted to get pressure up that middle. It's the reason that they signed Grady Jarrett in the offseason, because they wanted to get better up on that defensive line. And while the run defense has come together, they still have not found a way to get a consistent pass rush. So this is an issue. And like I said, we will talk about that a little bit more later on. But now let's move on to my second point. I want to call this the good news and bad news Bears for the game. We'll do this after every game. The good news and bad news Bears. For me, the first good news Bear, and we're only going to talk about players for this section. And normally when I give out my MVP, it'll be a player, but Dennis Allen's defense was so crazy, I had to give him the MVP. But good news, bad news Bears from a player standpoint. First, for me, is Tremaine Edmonds. I think personally he's having the best year he's had as a Bear. This season, he's been really good. He's been really good. A lot of games just all over the field. I don't know how many people are, privy to or what his stats are right now going into, like through what is this, 6 games now. But he has 30 solo tackles. He has the 1 sack, which he got yesterday. He has 3 freaking interceptions and another one yesterday. Just all over the field. The big frame is really being a thing on defense. He had 9 tackles, a sack, and a pick yesterday. That's a heck of a game for an inside linebacker, guys. Montez Sweat was a good news Bear yesterday. He absolutely was. I thought that, obviously the sack, he had another tackle for loss. He forced that fumble earlier in the game. He had 4 tackles. He was great against the run. He was okay in pass rush, but overall great against the run. I thought he had a great game, an impact game. Jaquan Brisker was awesome. 6 tackles and a sack. I wish he hadn't gotten the roughing the passer. This is now 2 straight weeks that he's gotten a roughing the passer penalty. And both times, technically, according to rule, it was a roughing the passer. But I'm really hoping, I said this during the stream yesterday, I'm really hoping that the NFL goes back and revisits the way they call the roughing the passer. What I think is the remedy or the solution for what I think is an issue with this call is to make it a reviewable call. And so how in the NFL, every score, every turnover is automatically reviewed. I believe every roughing the passer penalty should also be automatically reviewed, because the impact that these penalties have on the game, you have to make sure you get these right? You cannot call a roughing the passer penalty and the replay shows that it was incidental contact, that there was very little contact, because in full speed, things sometimes look worse than they do when you look at them back in terms of in slow motion or on instant replay. They look way worse, and you can easily see a guy's arm was kind of like pushed into the guy's head. Or the penalty that Jaquan Brisker was called for yesterday, he literally was swiping at Spencer Rattler's arm, which is obviously up around his head. The arm goes through his arm, and as it goes through his arm, he brushes the side of Spencer Rattler's helmet. To me, in a perfect system or an improved system, the NFL, the officials will be able to look at that in replay and say, oh, that was incidental contact, no malicious intent, no damage was done to Spencer Rattler. That doesn't need to be a penalty. And to me, I think that play should be reviewable. I don't think that coaches should have to use a challenge flag on it. I think that it should be automatically reviewed, just like turnovers and scores. That's just my bit. I'll get off my soapbox on that, but I do think that that's something that should happen. Let's look at the offensive side of the ball for the rest of the Good News Bears. The O-line on a whole, is just playing out of their minds. And at first, we were just talking about how well they were doing running, with run blocking. But we need to talk about the whole shebang with this offensive line right now. 172 yards on the ground total is what the Bears had against the Saints. But also, Caleb Williams was only sacked one time. Now, there were some times that he escaped some pressure, got outside, and maybe there was some, some pressure that got home, and he was able to use his athleticism to get out of the way. But overall, the offensive line is playing such improved football, guys. We'd be crazy not to acknowledge what's happening. It's a combination of gelling, getting healthy, and making a switch over there at left tackle. Theo Benedette has just been clearly better than Braxton. And so this was a good change. We are still sitting here wondering about Ozzie Trapillo. I think he played a pretty decent amount of snaps, if I'm not mistaken, yesterday. But a lot of people obviously are still wondering about him. How much is he going to factor in if he is indeed too slow to play the left tackle? What is his future with the way that Theo Benedette is stepping up? And there's no reason at all to think that he wouldn't continue to play. So it's a question for sure. Like what are we looking at with Ozzie Trapillo, a guy who you used a second round pick on? And I wanted to make sure and see how many snaps did he play against New Orleans. And actually, no, he only had 6 special team snaps. He did not play from scrimmage. So this is 2 straight games that he didn't have any. The last time he had snaps from the line of scrimmage was against the Raiders. He had 40. So I don't know. We got to see. But for right now, you got to ride the wave, and the offensive line is playing well. You got to go with it. But that is a question for the future. Another good news bear on the offensive side was obviously DeAndre Swift. Back-to-back games over 100 yards. Had another rushing touchdown, 124 yards on the ground. I said it last week. I'll say it again this week. The problems running the ball were never about DeAndre Swift. It was about getting this offensive line in order. And you want more proof of that? Kyle Monangai has the best game of his rookie season with 81 yards and a touchdown. Looked phenomenal going downhill. They are beginning to look like that running back tandem that we all wanted them to look like. They're not, DeAndre Swift isn't quite Jahmyr Gibbs, and Kyle Monangai isn't quite David Montgomery at this point. But we are seeing that thunder and lightning kind of a combination that I think can be a phenomenal run game. And if the Bears keep running the ball like this, this offense is going to be potent. Now, I don't want to pick on him because there's a lot of really sensitive Caleb Williams people out here. But my one bad news bear is Caleb Williams. This is just this game. And actually, it's been 2 games in a row. I felt like he hasn't played well, but I thought yesterday's game was his worst game of the season. 15 to 26, 172 yards, no touchdowns and an interception. And in my opinion, a ton of odd decisions and too many times where he's trying to play hero ball. There were times yesterday that I asked myself, is Caleb jealous that the run game is like carrying this offense right now and he feels like he has to make a play? I really actually kind of was wondering, like, what's going on? So I saw something and I was saying this in so many different ways, right? But I saw a tweet from the Bears blog. And what they said was Caleb's flaws, and I'm quoting them, reading this direct tweet. It says Caleb's flaws mirror early flaws of Josh Allen and to a degree Cam Newton. Young, talented quarterbacks must learn offensive structure is their friend. The game will present moments for them to be special, but down for down success is about getting the ball where it needs to go quickly. I could not agree with that more. That is essentially what I have been saying about Caleb for the last 2 years. His talent is undeniable. He does things on the football field that only a handful of guys that have ever played this game could do. The issue with him is that he tries to create those situations rather than finding himself in those situations and then being special within them. And he is still extremely young. And so this is something that it is growing pains you have to watch and you just have to go through. It's something you have to go through sometimes for a kid to actually get to the point where they are special. I think the Bears are in a good situation because they are beginning to run the ball now. So we don't have to put as much pressure on him, but it is up to him sometimes to not put more pressure on himself to be special and to just take what's there. I have a thought, guys, about Caleb Williams in this offense and how a proper adjustment will affect one of his teammates. If Caleb Williams will simply begin to more readily accept and take the check down, DeAndre Swift is going to the Pro Bowl. I'm going to be just straight honest with you guys. The amount of time, and I challenge everybody to go to Bears film room and to watch the all 22 of the majority of the Bears games this year. And you look at how often DeAndre Swift is open as the check down, and Caleb doesn't even look his way. Instead, he gets his mind set on threading the needle in a tighter window down the field, which in some instances puts the ball in jeopardy, and he doesn't even look at the check down. And so I watched Jacoby Brissett, a far less physically talented quarterback, but a veteran for the Arizona Cardinals, filling in for an injured Kyler Murray against the Green Bay Packers. And I watched the way he quarterbacked the game. Now, Arizona lost. They are depleted at running back, and they are a losing bunch, right? But I watched the way Jacoby Brissett kept his team in the game, used his weapons, used his tight end Trey McBride, used his wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr., used his check downs. And I said, if a guy as talented as Caleb Williams could just inject a little bit of the game management DNA, the game management mindset that a guy like Jacoby Brissett brings to the field every time he plays. And I'm not telling you, I'm not implying that Jacoby Brissett is better than Caleb Williams, or I'd rather have Jacoby Brissett. That's ridiculous. All I'm saying is this approach would do a little bit of that approach would do Caleb Williams so much good, man. Like, his numbers would be higher. We would have less stalled drives. The Bears would be overall a better offense if he would just accept certain situations for what they are. Check down, take the check down, throw the ball away, things like that. Those things there would, it would improve the Bears exponentially on offense, and it would take a lot of pressure off him, and it would make him an overall better player. So those are the things I want to see. He was the only bad news Bear for me, but I'm not down on him forever. It just was a bad game this week, and unfortunately, the Bears won anyway. All right, my third and final point today is about the trade situations. For a long time, with a lot of people talking about Bears need to trade, Bears need to get a running back, Bears need to get a running back. I think we all can kind of see that's not the case. If anything, the Bears need maybe another running back for depth, but they don't need another running back to take carries away from Swift or Monangai. We need to continue to let Swift and Monangai do their thing. A little bit of Roschon Johnson, he came in and had a nice run for a first down. So that I think that's fine. Maybe another running back for depth, because if somebody goes down, that little rotation is disrupted. But where the Bears really need to focus their attention is pass rush in terms of from a trade standpoint. As good as this defense has been over the past 2 weeks, forcing turnovers, being creative with Dennis Allen, finding ways to get pressure, Ryan Poles has got to go out and get Ben Johnson and Dennis Allen a pass rusher. He's got to. To me, he's got to. You cannot worry about, oh, well, we already gave a second-round pick for Montez Sweat. Oh, we already signed Dio. Oh, we already signed Grady Jarrett. We already threw resources at this issue. You can't worry about that. You're wasting a year where there could be some noise made with this team if you could get pass rush. You cannot worry about the fact that these guys that you went to get didn't work out yet. You know, Grady Jarrett is older and already injury prone coming into this. He's older. The arrow's not pointing up for Grady Jarrett, to be honest. I love Grady Jarrett, but we just got to be real, okay? It's not pointing up. Montez Sweat seems to be, he is what he is. He is a serviceable pass rusher. He is above average against the run. That's a good player. I'm not saying he shouldn't be on the field, but he's not an elite pass rusher. Dio has been an abject failure through 6 games. I don't know if the light will flick on for him. I don't know. We wanted to see Austin Booker come out there and play well and make an impact. He didn't, not yesterday. But I'm not saying that it's over for him and he can't make an impact or anything to that nature. But there was no impact yesterday. Actually, I don't even think he played yesterday. Yeah, he was supposed to play yesterday, or we thought he was going to play, but he didn't get on the field. So, I mean, the Bears have to do something on the pass rush. They cannot allow this to happen. So I've started to look around and like, who are some of the guys that maybe you would be interested in? The Saints are 1-6. I thought Chase Young was amazing yesterday. I know that was somebody they were interested in when they went and got Montez Sweat. So I wonder about that. But Chase Young makes me a little bit nervous because of the injury history and the up and down. I mean, he's never, if you think about it, with Chase Young, his best year was his rookie season. He hasn't been to that level since. Cameron Jordan is obvious a dude that Dennis Allen knows. He's a veteran, but he's older. So I don't know what you would have to give up to get him. But to me, the Saints maybe should be in a position where they are willing to trade. I thought Carl Granderson was good yesterday for the Saints. He's somebody that I would be interested in seeing what the deal is. If you look outside of the Saints, other teams that may be willing to deal, you got to look at the Washington Commanders. Over the last 2 games, now I don't know what the severity is of Jaden Daniels' injury, but he did get hurt yesterday. They're 3-4. They're not like out of it, but they've lost 2 in a row at this point. Do you wonder, or do you think that the Commanders would be willing to maybe trade Dorance Armstrong? That's a guy I would definitely look at if I'm the Bears. He's one of the top guys in the league in sacks right now. I would be interested if he was available. The Bears should be kicking the tires on Dorance Armstrong. Obviously, there's the oft-mentioned Jeffery Simmons. I would make that deal, honestly. Now, he's oft-mentioned just amongst people in the media, Bears fans. I haven't seen anything that said that the Bears were absolutely interested in him. I've seen these other reports, but if you chase those reports down to the root, they essentially originated from a sports writer for Sports Illustrated writing an article saying that it made sense because the Titans are so bad. They should be in sell mode. The Bears needed pass rush. There's never been anything that justified that there was legitimate interest from the Bears and Jeffery Simmons or even the Titans in trading him. But if that is a thing, if the Bears could conjure up those conversations within the next 2 weeks before the trade deadline, I would be willing to part with a second rounder from 2026 and a 4th rounder from 2027 to get Simmons if we needed to. I think he's young enough. I know he's good enough to impact this defensive line immediately, and that is what they need. If the Bears want to see how much they can maximize this season and the next year or two, you got to do something on this pass rush. And I'm still drafting a pass rusher with my first pick in the first round in 2026. But you don't hurt anything by going to get somebody like Jeffery Simmons. We cannot sit here and wait on Shamar Turner to turn a corner this year that's putting too much pressure on him in his rookie season. He's been okay against the run. He's not getting anything done against the pass rush. Dio's not getting pass rush. You just look at it. Every game you watch, every time the Bears only rush 4, the quarterback has all day to throw. That can't be. It just can't be, guys. It can't be. Poles has to make a move to get a pass rusher in here one way or another. He's got to make that move. So that's all I got for you guys today. I want to ask you guys, absolutely, if you want to talk Bears, throw me a question in the comment section. I'll make it a part of my answer for my 3 points on tomorrow or on a future day. But I'm looking to be back here tomorrow to talk Bears. As always, I appreciate you watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. God bless and peace.